First thing on the agenda is Pam Goffman.
Okay, the first thing I have is payroll that was distributed Monday on July 19th for all county employees for $147,924.87.
Okay. Any discussion?
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second, approved by roll call. Randy?
Aye.
Great. I also vote aye. Motion made, approved, second, carried, 3-0.
Okay, and I have mailed out, or Teresa has several minutes to you, all of your May meetings, May 3rd, May 18th, and your June meetings, June 7th and June 15th for your review. If you have any changes or comments on them, we'll need approval on those.
Okay, discussion?
May 3rd,
Okay.
page 4. Second line, it says, I don't know why it says it, it says Project Society. I don't know. And then basically he said we've got responsible and approved. I have no idea what I was saying there, or if that's what I said or whatever, but it sounds like I had a small stroke. So if we could just strike that, I don't think it adds or takes away from the minutes. It's just
Okay.
really confusing.
Well, I might have had one too, so.
No worries.
Okay.
No worries.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think everything is fine.
Okay, I will strike it out.
Okay. You have any comments, Randy?
No, everything looked good to me.
Okay. I entertain a motion. I don't have,
So motion.
I'll second that.
okay, motion made and second, vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried, 3-0.
Okay, and that will have everything caught up now to your July meetings.
Okay.
So, that's all I have.
Okay. Next thing on the agenda is Brian Herwick with the hospital.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. I appreciate the invite and the opportunity to share this morning with the commissioners. There's a proposed new urgent care facility being proposed through Tell City Planning Commission, and as a county-owned hospital, we just want to share what we know and some potential impact on that urgent care upon the hospital. Again, I come honored to run the hospital for the county, to report to a wonderful board that is appointed by the county commissioners and represent the county in our strategic and operational decisions. And just to give a little heads up, we meet annually and we give a report. The financial situation of the hospital has been strong. We're coming off of a COVID year. We were very fortunate to have received CARES funds last year from the federal government, which provided the bottom line for the hospital last year. Volumes have recovered this year as we've started to come out of the pandemic. More recent news, it's troubling the rate with COVID is increasing again, but more on that later. So we've learned that there's an investor-owned urgent care, fast-paced health, headquartered in Nashville, wants to come and build an urgent care center about 250 yards from our Tell City Clinic. We operate Quick Care, which is our version of urgent care in the clinic, Monday through Friday, 8 to 8. We have elected not to operate urgent care on weekends because the physicians, Dr. Bailey and Dr. Markham, for years have operated weekend clinic hours. We have a good partnership with Dr. Markham, Bailey, and Kleeman, so we have elected not to compete with them on weekends. In addition to that, we have continued to recruit new providers to the community and to the county. We recruited 6 new physicians last year. And with that, in the 3 rural health clinics we operate in the county now, we have walk-in clinics, in addition to the quick care clinic 8 to 8. There are now over 18 primary care providers in the county. That includes the independent physicians in town, Markham, Bailey, Kleeman, Rogan, providers that work for the Jasper Memorial Clinic in Bristol, and then the nurse practitioner clinic downtown operated by Owensboro. In addition, our clinical affiliate, Ascension, runs a clinic for the Tell City School Corporation through a contract with them. So if you look at the American Medical Association, which has standards for the state of Indiana, the number of primary care physicians you need for a population of our size, about 19,000. We need 11 primary care providers. We're at 18. As a matter of fact, the hospital of the 18 employs 11. So we think that there's enough physicians. We're concerned about the financial impact on all of those, potential financial impact on all of those providers. We operate urgent care, so we don't again see the need for this clinic. We again are pleased that we're locally owned and operated through the board of the hospital board appointed by the commissioners. We're pretty sure this investor-owned will not have the same commitment to the county as your hospital and the hospital board. Our providers, for the most part, live in the community. Our 250 employees live in the community, invest in the community. They're involved in the schools. They're shopping at the local grocery stores. The economic impact of the hospital through a formula from the National Rural Hospital Association is over $25 million to the county. The payroll taxes, county payroll taxes, is over $250,000. So there is an investment and a return on that investment to the community. It's one of the largest employers in the county, and for every 3 employees at the hospital, the formula says there's another job created in the community. So last year when we recruited 6 new physicians, each physician typically has 2 support staff. So 6 times 2 is a dozen, actually is 18, and then another one created in the community. So there is an economic engine from the community. We work within the community. We're working with a group now. I see Aaron Emerson here from the PCDC. We have a meeting later this morning to talk about behavioral health services in the county. That is a dramatic need, and we have committed to hiring behavioral health providers, working through this council as soon as we determine the need and the best need for that. The City Planning Commission, we attended their meeting a couple weeks back. In their general guidelines, in their general standards and findings necessary for the development plan review includes in section 7, letter S, they have to do an economic analysis on any public facility and service. When asked at the meeting, the response from the committee chair was that they interpreted that statement to be the impact on public utilities. The hospital has contested that and is contesting that. We believe it's the broader public facility and public service. We certainly think the hospital is a public facility and a public service. So we are asking the city to go back and give us that documentation that they did that analysis. Our own data internally, we know for those facilities not aligned with the hospital, not integrated with the hospital, we know the revenue that does not come to the hospital but is diverted away. In particular, the Jasper Memorial Clinic in Bristol and the Owensboro Clinic on Highway 66. I respect that. I respect their business plans, but that does take revenue from the hospital and patients out of the community and investment from the community out. So we're concerned, without understanding the operational plan and the business plan of this clinic, the true impact on the hospital. We have checked with other hospitals, the relationship with Past Pace Health. Some work in some communities, they do work cooperatively with the hospital. In other cases, they don't. The new building and facility does have radiology services planned in it, so that, again, we will not get that revenue and that service as an example, but there are other services we could work together. The hospital, as you know, commissioners better than I know, is the bond on that is backed by the county, and the county does have the ability to pass property taxes. I understand. You would know that better than I do. We are not proposing that under my tenure at the hospital. But there is that impact. In several years back, there was a safety tax passed. And some of that money went to the sheriff's office, and some of that money helps pay for the EMS service. So there is a precedent set for passing that tax. There is also a certificate of need document of the county. There is some question, to be transparent, about the ability to enforce that certificate of need document within the state. I believe that the questions and the issues raised in the certificate of need document are good issues to have answered and to understand, whether we need to legally enforce that or not. But it does ask really, what is the operating model? Who's going to be providing care? Will they care for all people irregardless of ability to pay? What is the impact on all of the local providers, not only the hospital, but the other independent providers? Again, I would credit Dr. Markham, Bailey, Kleeman, and Rogan, who've been here for dozens of years providing service. This could have an impact on them. And so I think those questions should be addressed by the developer in a sense of transparency if they're coming to the community. And so share that information with you, and we'll answer questions. Again, a couple of requests. We are asking the city to complete their analysis and the financial impact on all public facilities and services. And number two, we'd like the county to see if we can continue to have the developer at least answer the questions identified in the certificate of need. May I answer any questions of the commissioners?
I don't have any at this time, to tell you the truth.
Only thing, I don't really have a question, Brian, but I will make a statement that, I support what you're doing here 100%, because I know what this hospital means to this county. But you look across the country, there's a lot of communities don't even have a hospital. They had one at one time. We got a new one. That is very rare. I don't know any other community there is, but I don't know where at, would actually build a hospital our size. So, and just like what you said, when you went after the finances that time, the county stepped up and signed for it. That was a commitment to the county to have this hospital from here on out. So, and I agree with the statement here, what you said too. The hospital, the profits you make is reinvested in this community through the hospital and other ways. And you take an outside firm comes in here, you're right, that money's going to go somewhere else, the profit. So that's really not looking out for the best interest of our county. That's the way I feel. So I don't know what we can do. I talked to the attorney a little bit about that ordinance of need, certificate of need. I don't know if it would stand up, but I would hope elected officials in Tell City would think about what I'm saying here and support this hospital, because I agree with you. We do have a lot of providers, and you're getting more every year. So just look what you've got in the last 2 years in providers. So you're doing a great job up there. So, and I really just think we got to protect our hospital as elected officials somehow, some way. So that's my opinion.
Greg, you any comments?
Nope, not this time.
And I agree with what Randy said, we do need to support our local hospital and our local providers. And as far as action, the certificate of need ordinance, I mean, I'll be quite frank that we've been advised by our council that not to pursue it because of legalities, that he felt like that it would cause litigation that we would lose, so, to enforce it. But having the new investor come and answer the questions, I mean, but I don't know that we have the power to require them to, but we can ask them publicly to answer the questions. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. You know, and I applaud the expansion of the clinics and quick care. You know, we haven't had that for a while, and now we've got it. I mean, and maybe people are not aware of it. This is good awareness.
Yeah.
So, that's one comment I got.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's, again, appreciate the ability to work for the county, with the commissioners. We work together on the county ambulance service. We work with Steve Hauser with the local EMA, so we appreciate that. The quick care, again, is our name for our urgent care. During the pandemic year, that went away, and we converted that into what we called car care. And for those of you that needed that service, you know, our staff went into the parking lot to do the COVID swabbing and do workups and physical exams. Since the pandemic has subsided, we have reopened the quick care, so that might be part of that confusion, Tom. But we're marketing and advertising that more and want the community aware of that. So again, thank you for your support. Thanks for the opportunity to share our concerns and raise public awareness and provide education. And should there be any questions, don't hesitate to call. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Hey, next on the agenda, Alvin.
Good morning. The three issues or items today is one is the approval of the bond issue for the railroad bridge replacement, which is the replacement of milepost 11.7 and 8.1 and on the Hoosier Southern Railroad. And so that's a USDA bond, which for the matching amount of the grant from EDA for that work. So it's approximately $8 million worth of work, and bond. This is 20% of that, about $1.6 million for the bond. Then so it's very similar to what was done for the hospital, where the USDA is loaning the money to the Port Authority in order to accomplish it, and they do that through a bond process. And it's a 2% interest loan over 40 years, and it amounts to about 3 railroad cars to the current time of income per month, and that's about 1/5 of the, or 20% or so of the loads that go out per month. And so over 40 years, that's going to become a very small number compared to what it is today. So it's critical to replace the bridge at 8.1. 8.1 is the one over the Anderson River. And to doing it in this plan process, we can close the track down for about a week to 2 weeks in order to the new bridge be built parallel to it, and then it'll slide over to the location of the existing bridge. And so no threat to the customers. If it collapses or something on us, that's going to be a 3-year process, by the time we get through design, funding, and everything else to do it. So, which would be terrible for the rail traffic comes in to Wapaka and American Colloid and Org Chem Group. So that's the purpose of this bond, is to pay the loan process from USDA to accomplish this. So,
I knew I drove you crazy with emails when it was on the agenda, because
No.
I just want to make sure I understand it completely.
No, everybody
You
should.
capped it all really well there, too.
Everybody should understand this, because, I mean, it is Port Authority's public body, and so,
And I'm always worried about what we're putting the county on the line for, in the long run. But
Yeah.
the conversation around the 3 cars and the interest rate on it too, basically. So I was, once I heard all that, I was like, okay,
Yeah,
makes sense to me.
yeah,
And
the
I also am a supporter of it, because obviously it's gonna help the throughput of the cars too, the amount they can carry and
Yes,
all that, so.
right now, we're limited 263,000 pounds car weights, and actually they've threatened us several times. We spend about $50,000 a year, Port Authority does, in maintenance on this bridge in order to keep it up to the 263, because it goes below that. We're going to be penalized for low weight cars. We want to get up to 286, which is a standard rate for railroads now, and so that'll be able to be accomplished with these with this bridge replacement then, so.
Also helps with tourism too, right?
The tourism will be, the Port Authority does not allow the excursion train to cross the bridge, because there's no need to put it in any more than what we have to, and so once this is done, then the excursion train can run the full length of the track, whatever they decide they want to schedule then, so. But
So it'll help in more than one aspect, industrial and.
yes, and tourism, yes, yeah,
Lincoln Scenic Railway.
Yes.
yeah, Lincoln Scenic Railway, that's right.
Right. And it'd be paid back with revenue from the port, so.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lifeline to our county industrialized too, we have to provide it. So, if we want to, Wapaka and them to do business here, so.
Yep.
Any other discussion? I entertain a motion then to, on the subject of approval of the bond issue.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Approved, okay, motion made, second. Vote by roll call, Randy?
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried 3-0 to approve the bond issue.
How old is that bridge down there now?
The original bridge was built in 1891. That bridge was built in 1927. So the current bridge is 1927. The steel structures are 1927. There's 3 steel piers that were put in at that time, plus the ends were filled in for it, so the trestle wasn't near as long now as it was then. And so the steel, like I said, they'll be 100 years old, but by the time we replace it all, and one of them's right in the middle of the river, which poses issues with driftwood gathering up against it, so it has to be cleaned out, cause it to not block the river. So now it'll span the entire river from one side to the other then, so we'll open it up then, so that won't be an issue in the future then, so.
That's a big issue, because we got a county bridge, about every year they got to take care of some driftwood.
Yes, yeah.
Could mainly damage the bridge itself if it's let go. So.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah, not very many people have seen this bridge. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but if we went across it one time, it's impressive to be built when they built it. That's the reason I asked how old it was.
Yeah, it's I don't know how they ran steam engines across those, because they weighed a lot, and how you build a steel wood structure through there to run a steam engine across it, if they did, so.
You often wonder how they did it, but they did.
I'm sure the reliability was a little lower than what ours is.
Oh, yeah.
Higher risk factor than what
That's
we were
right.
willing to take.
Yeah, that's right.
Current age.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Next.
Okay, changing hats, putting PCDC hat on now. They have an affidavit before you for payment out of bond series 2021 for TIF District Number 3. It's for $82,572.70, and it's for payment of the stream mitigation invoice of $74,472, which is retainage for the stream mitigation work that was accomplished down on the Wapaka property at Montefiore. So that's retained for it, and $8,100 is for the first of two payments for the annual payments for the stream mitigation monitoring and treatment work. So that's the total for that. Then. So that'll come out of TIF number 3, bond 2021.
Same one the RDC just recently approved, basically, then, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, all right.
Any other discussion? Entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve that affidavit.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. Vote by roll call. Randy?
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion made, second, carried 3-0.
Side note on that one, how much more do we have on that one? Is it, I know it's not months, it's years, right, still for mitigation? Is that-
It's well, it's a minimum of 5 years,
Yeah.
and it can go to 10. And so hopefully we'll get out of it in 7, because you have to wait for the trees to get a certain size and other things. Then you're supposed to have all invasive grass species eliminated, but that's awful hard to do in river bottoms with Johnson grass. And so that's what you're making an effort to do, though. So
Depends on what IDM accepts.
this is what IDM and DNR do when they decide to accept it, when it'll be. So.
And I knew it was a long period of time we still had ahead of us on that one.
Right, yes. Mhm.
If you get rid of Johnson grass, let me know.
Yeah.
If you get rid of Johnson grass, let me know how you did.
That's impossible.
The seed will lay in the ground 10 years and then.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, on the update on design engineering for construction Riverview South building pad, you remember we did a recall for our engineers and only one responded. We had a few phone calls and things, but it takes a minimum of 3 in order to the process. Looked at just going ahead and not using the EDA grant, because it's for an EDA grant, not using the EDA grant to pay for the engineering. And then there's some other issues that came up that, okay, we need to go ahead and do that process again. So one is to ask to acknowledge that we didn't get but one bid, and so authorize us to go out again for a second bid then for the engineers. There will be some things done differently this time in order to definitely make sure we got 3. We had 4 respondents who asked a lot of questions, so you assumed that there was going to be 3 out of it, but there wasn't, and we needed to push harder a week before and make sure that we got 3 coming in. So, but anyway, so.
And what's the deadline on that?
Well, we'll set a new deadline then on that. Then, if you get authorized to do it, then we can do it. It'll be August meeting when they would be open then. No, not the August meeting. Where are we now? Be the September meeting for when they would be open then.
Do you need approval for that, or?
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, I think so, to close the one and do it again, to authorize us to do it again, so.
It's a repeat and rinse of what we've done before, basically. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So motion, I guess is.
Well, I'll second that.
Okay, motion made, second, and vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried 3-0 to pursue the engineering.
All right.
As always, keep the RDC up to date too, so that they know what it is.
Yeah, yep, will do, yep, all right. Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is a travel policy review for the coroners. Warren, you want to speak on that?
I was kind of hoping Chris would be here this morning because he was going to review the county policy, and I was just wondering what he had found out about it. The only thing is, the very last paragraph or sentence in the old policy, which was in 2006, said it was up to the discretion of the commissioners if it wasn't addressed in the policy somewhere else within the policy, and that's the only thing I'm concerned about, that actually I feel it's up to you three to decide, yes, the meal should be paid for, or no, they won't be paid for. I've got the money in the budget. It's not like I have to ask the council for money. There's plenty of money in the budget to cover, I think it was $94.96, I think was the amount. I don't even remember now. But I'd just like to get something squared away so either I can get Joe paid or we'll go on from there. Because 2 weeks after he went up as a volunteer, he then came back on as full-time. He was on full-time, he had to go off because of medical issues, and doctors required him not to attend the conference from last year, so he lost his certification. The Coroner Association agreed to let him come back this year to pick his certification back up due to circumstances from his illness. So,
Any questions or discussion?
I really, I'll be honest, being so new, I have no idea what is within our allowances or abilities or whatever you want to say, one way or another. I got a personal opinion on it in the sense that, you know, I mean, for the time that he took to go up there, because he spent, what, 3 days?
4 days. We was up there 4 days.
So 4 days to do, you know, something to get back back certified for us. I mean, I don't know, $95 is pretty low, but I don't want to do something that's outside of our power. And also, I would like to mention that it's probably something we don't want to set a precedence for, you know, in the long term too, so. But we could do a one-time exception or something like that.
I totally agree with your thoughts there, Greg. I mean,
It would be different, you know, if it was a huge bill or
Out of
or the time that he committed versus the dollar amount. So, you know, if it was like a 1 hour meeting, it was $95, you know, but, I mean, he literally took 4 days of his life to go up there and get recertified, so I mean.
I haven't heard anything from Chris. Have you, Tom?
No.
Pam, have you?
No,
heard?
I sent it all with you, but haven't heard a reply.
Now, did you say 2006? Did we look at the policy a couple years ago?
We got a new policy,
Yeah,
a new handbook.
new handbook, okay.
There's
Yeah,
no policy handbook.
Okay.
This was a separate travel
Okay.
type policy book
Okay.
that was done in 2006.
Okay.
I
Which
looked-
needs to be
This is
updated.
in.
Yeah, I looked
This
through
is all
here,
in
and I don't know.
It's all in the handbook.
I didn't see anything
That's
in there
right there. It's
around
all those
volunteers, I didn't see anything around here like, you know, if he had, there wasn't anything in here like, you know, sometimes like Domtar will say like, if I have a guest, I can pay for his meal, you know what I'm saying? But there's nothing like that even in here either, you
Yeah,
know?
and
No
Teresa said all
entertainment.
that is in our new policy handbook too.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that in either one of them. So, I mean, the policy doesn't say that it's allowed, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but sometimes doing the right thing is doing the right thing too, so I don't know.
We can make an exception as commissioners to the
Yeah.
policy. I mean, that is in our power. And I agree with, I think it's something we need to look at, and within budget, it's within budget, the money's there. But, you know, it, as far as I can tell, it does not follow the current policy, but,
Yeah.
so,
It's like, don't do it again, but one time.
Well-
You know, Well, if we want to do it again, we have to change the policy, is basically what I'm saying.
We should.
Yes.
I think we'll probably change somehow, some way anyway,
Yeah.
down the road,
Yeah.
when we meet later this
Long-term,
year.
long-term requires a change, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Times changes everything, so.
We do have a couple council members, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there any heartburn from the council that you know of on this issue? I mean,
I don't have any.
What'd you say,
Well,
Dan?
And I've discussed this with Randy and Steve, and my concern is on volunteers that we know who they are for the insurance. And my suggestion was, if, in this situation, a letter to the auditor stating the facts on there. Steve and I have talked about volunteers before, as long as you keep a register of the names of the person, because we don't want somebody coming off the street saying, hey, I helped, I got hurt, and there's no,
Right.
paperwork. That's my only concern.
Makes sense.
That we,
A letter is turned in each time to
Well,
Pam for
well,
that.
This time, I think it's a moot point.
Okay.
Because they can approve this, but if it should ever happen again.
Hopefully,
Chances are your volunteers are not gonna get, paid for food, because they're
No.
not gonna go to any training.
they're not, right, because they're there to assist
So-
just for body removal anyway. So-
As far as I'm concerned, and at a later date, when the book is looked at, that should be one of the issues brought
That we
up,
address.
a section on volunteers.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
like,
I agree with that,
just
Charlie.
wanted to make sure you guys were not gonna have, I figured not, but it's always nice to ask, So, Communication lines, communication lines. Okay.
So,
Well,
I don't know what kind of motion we need here. I
a
don't-
motion to approve the,
Expense?
yeah.
I'll make that motion, and if there needs to be a letter too, we'll write the letter or whatever as well. So whatever you need, Pam, to make it okay on your side of the world for auditing purposes.
Mhm.
okay, and I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and second, and vote on by roll call. Greg?
Aye?
Randy?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. So motion made, second carried, 3-0 to make an exception to pay this expense because of extenuating circumstances.
Okay, thank you.
He did become, an employee, it was just a timing thing.
Yes.
It was a gap.
Right.
So it's kind of different.
Okay, thank you very much.
No worries.
All right. Next thing on the agenda is approval of the 2022 budget for the commissioners. And with that said, and Teresa can speak briefly on that, there is some gaps in it that we do not have the numbers from the council yet on the lit, so I don't see where we can approve something that we don't have, but we can preliminary approve what we do have with the, and then we'll have to come back and approve it, the entire budget, once we have the numbers. So,
What's our deadline, Pam, of when we have to, August?
Well, I am working on budgets now. Today would have been great, but I think if you table it today or however you want to do it, but at your first of August meeting, I really need all the numbers finalized for what's in the
Okay.
budget so I can continue on, because I cannot move forward with lit, county general, or any of my levy funds to know where we're standing at unless I get this finalized.
yeah, and we haven't had any numbers given to us
Right.
to fill those blanks, so.
No, we've been working on some of them, but we still have a few.
So the best action would be to table it and,
Until August.
Until we get those numbers
First
to-
of August.
Greg was,
I just
Okay.
wanted, the blanks that we do have, the way you handled it was you just took where the amount's gonna be split, you just took the full amount and put it in both spots, right?
some of those,
That's on one.
we've had computer system maintenance, which I think some of that we've kind of cleared up, but we've been looking at indirect cost,
Ambulance service.
The
We were
ambulance
looking at where that
service.
needs to go.
the 911 dispatch number, so some of the things like that. And with the ambulance service, it's been budgeted, we've budgeted right now in both lit and county general. But until I can work the full budgets and see where we're at to see, is it best to split it, is it best to put in one?
Sure.
I don't know at this point, and I cannot advise you at this point
Okay.
where it needs to go.
But right now, it's just basically the full amount in both spots, just so we know that it's
Yes,
there.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even with insurance, we're gonna have a trustee meeting setting up. As of right now, I've had all the county departments to put 7% increase in their health insurance, which we feel like that is gonna be good, but we do have a meeting with our brokers just to make sure if we're in line there also. So there's things like that, we're just kinda in limbo at this point.
Still unanswered questions
Right.
before we can.
But we gotta get them answered by the 1st of August so I can
Right.
move on.
Right. So the only action that I personally feel we can do is table it because we can't approve something we don't have.
And I think what we do have though is, I mean, is pretty, other than those gaps, you realize where
Right.
those gaps are, so move
Right.
forward as you can, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we feel really good about what we have put in there at this point
Yeah.
and looked at and talked, but yeah, we just need to make sure we're okay with the other ones that we
I'm
need to do.
pretty confident that three of us can easily say, we trust you to do what you need to do, you know?
We-
I mean, that kind of helps you
That's
keep
not,
around.
doesn't even have to be
Yeah.
said, but
Yeah.
just, you know,
Yeah, we try to keep it within limits, but still knowing that we can budget for what the year is,
right.
Mhm.
so.
Motion to table it, I guess, is
Okay.
the best way to do it, so with her understanding that it is a draft and use it as she needs to, so.
Ma'am?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and second to table the budget until the August,
1st of August meeting.
1st of August meeting. Vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye?
Randy?
All right.
Both made, second carried 3-0.
Second.
Okay, that'll be August the 2nd, guys.
Okay. Yeah, and I know this is a lot of work, putting all these numbers together. Teresa and you have been working very hard on it together. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, that's work done. But it all, it all looks good so far. Next on the agenda, miscellaneous. Anyone got anything? Yes, ma'am?
Hi guys, some of you know me, some of you don't. My name is Julie Durbin. I'm a transplant to the community. I've been here a decade now, so I feel like I get a say. I am also an investor here, purchased a 5-bedroom, so I care. When it comes to the hospital stuff, I don't think you guys are looking at this from the community's point of view. You're looking at it from a financial point of view from the board and what it's going to benefit the hospital. I live in Fen Haven. If you put that urgent care there, you cannot handle the traffic in that corner. I have almost been hit at least 10 times this year by the traffic coming out of McDonald's. What do you think it's going to be like when they put an urgent care there?
That would go back to the city though for zoning.
Zoning's not looking at it from a traffic perspective. They're not. They're looking at, can we handle the piping? Can we handle, the infrastructure of it? They're not looking at the traffic control. I'm sorry, it's just, and as somebody that came from a big city, I know what the urgent cares do to the local hospitals. And you guys are going to take a hit on revenue. You're going to take a hit on what's being invested. You're going to take a hit on actually the payroll taxes. So I think the community, when they look at this coming in, they're going to go like, oh, hey, more doctors, yeah. It's not. It's not going to be a positive impact on the community. So that's all I have to say on that subject. The second subject I'm here about is the train bridge. I'd like to say thank you to that because I've rode the train. I also have helped on the train doing face painting and balloon twisting for the kids on the train. That's what I'm mostly known for in this community. And I think it's highly underestimated what revenue is coming into the county from that service. Specifically, there's no other business in all of Perry County that's doing stuff for age 2 to 92. There's no other attraction here. And if you build that bridge, I think it's important for those who are watching on Facebook land to understand the amount of money that's going to come in just from tourism and what that can open up if the train is allowed to use that for tourist purposes. It will almost double the amount of time that they can spend there. And what that will do to the community long term will be positive. And that's it.
Had a lot of discussions with Betty around that, so.
Yeah.
Have you took your concerns to city council?
I'm bringing them to you because this is what I have time for. I just got out of the hospital in Indy, so. But I do know that a lot of people will be watching this Facebook feed, and they don't necessarily understand why we need a train bridge for
No, I'm
$1
at
point
the-
whatever, $2 million.
Yeah, I'm at with the hospital.
Oh, with the hospital? No, I'm bringing it to you because this is the first I've had the opportunity to. But it is, when you live in Fen Haven, when you live on the McDonald's corner, it is terrifying to see the amount of traffic accidents that almost happen there on a regular basis. It's the second worst traffic stop compared to Walmart. And I've been hit at Walmart twice, so yeah. I'd like to address that for sure.
I guess it is zoning though that would, is that zoning or?
Yes, but it would fall within the Tell City zone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because it's
I
the
can get
city
you
of
a
Tell
list of
City
names.
plus the outlying 2 miles outside of the city limits, I think, is what the jurisdiction is, so.
Would that be an NDOT issue too?
Well, currently, right now, I can speak to this, and I know this from Mayor Chris, that when we tried to just get the lines painted there, that it was an NDOT issue, it wasn't a city issue, and it took months and months to get NDOT to respond just for painting lines. So I cannot imagine the crap show it will be when there's an urgent care there. So, thanks, guys.
Thank
Get your
you.
names too, just so you have them.
Anyone else? Oh, Alvin? Oh,
Well,
Charlie?
Real quick, just a reminder, Thursday evening, 6:15, our first ARP meeting. Invite the public. We want everybody to come. All right?
And it will be live streamed too.
Live stream, and it'll be here.
Here. Yes, following the, 6:15
We're
or
saying
following the
6:15,
council
it may be
meeting.
a little later than that, depending on how long the council meeting takes.
Right. Okay. Anyone else?
I think Alvin had something.
Oh, Alvin, I'm sorry.
Just to give you an update on the READY program, if you remember what the General Assembly appropriated $500 million for the, to give, for regions within the state of Indiana for economic development and community development, $50 million, up to $50 million per region. That's a 20% match toward local and private funded projects that they would pay 20% to up to $50 million. The SWIDAC, Southwest Indiana Development Council, which is what Perry County belongs to, Perry County Development Corporation, belongs to it, and then includes counties in Southwest Indiana, which name 12 counties, something like that. Part of those counties belong to Radius, which is the organization around that was formed around Patoka Lake whenever the gambling boat came in, and that included Orange and Orange, Du Bois, Crawford, and Martin counties. Then SWIDAC was left with members that did not belong to that. And so we went through a period of time to be sure that we could be included in a recognized as a ready region. It was recognized as a ready region, which includes, and that includes Knox, Pike, Spencer, Perry, and Harrison counties. Then is what the recognized region is, what's called Indiana First. And we're going through the process, and that's been accepted by the state of Indiana, Economic Development Corporation, as a region now. And so now we have it through July and August planning process in order to form, to come up the projects which will be included in the plan and programs. There's a definition, and there's programs and projects. Projects is easy to understand. Programs is you had a tourism program in order to cause tourism to occur within the region, and that program could be funded for that purpose, and then projects would be set within that So there was a lot of interest in the community on it. Fortunately, like I said, we were accepted into the program, and this READY IEDC will pay $50,000 toward the match on the planning that goes into, in which you submit your plan by August 31st, which has to be submitted. That process is going through. Indiana 15 is a partner in this process, and then they've hired a company to do the run the planning now. So, and that's going through, occurring now, as I said. Not much time to come up with a multi-year plan for what to do. But anyway, there's interest within the county in order to get the projects into it, and so what the proposing is that this does go through the commissioners, and so the entire process does. And proposing to the commissioners that the members of a member from the PCDC, the Perry County Port Authority, CVB, Tell City Regional Arts Association Council, Ivy Tech, PSC is being included, is the only private company being included because of the internet service build out on it then, and Tell City EDC, the Chamber, and the Community Foundation. Those 9 members have selected a member to serve on the committee to come up with a plan that would be presented to the commissioners, be approved second meeting in August, so we can get all this and turned in the right time then. So it's a very fast moving process. So
And those roles those roles that you listed are the same roles that that SWIDEC's asking kind of from every county, basically.
yes, right, yeah, that's
It's a consistent set that they're asking.
right. And so setting that, so we'll have SWIDEC is amending their bylaws somewhat to fit this into the process, but it'd probably be like a 3-member committee that would be within SWIDEC to finalize the final plan that would be submitted then. But
If we'd had SWIDAC, we wouldn't be part of this at all.
no, if it wasn't for SWIDEC, this would not have occurred.
With it
No.
being multiple counties, I mean, that's.
No,
We have to have a,
yeah, and I have to give the IEDC was very helpful and cooperative. They wanted the counties.
Sorry, Pam.
That's okay, I just checking the motion.
I'll second it.
okay, motion made and second, and vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Also vote aye.
If you ever have any questions, ask Aaron. Keep on moving.
Okay, all right. Yeah, this is pretty fast moving. It was at the beginning, and maybe I'll trip up some of them and we'll get a better chance at that. But, all right, anybody else?
I've got one.
If I can.
Oh,
Just one
yeah,
question.
go ahead.
Is there any chance that there would be a community discussion on whether, and I have no opinion right now, on the new clinic or the hospital, getting them together and discussing it?
I think it's a good point to make, but I don't, you're talking about a formal
Like a town hall?
town hall?
Yeah, I mean, just so, I mean, we've got sites apparently, but just so there are more people with input there.
There are many in the community who have no idea that this is even on the agenda. There are many people that don't read the newspapers. I know you guys think they do, they don't. You guys are doing a better job on trying to get on Facebook, but the meetings are not always legible or hearable when you're on there. So I agree with her that there probably should be a town meeting, because I really don't think that they understand what's at risk, where they're gonna be located, and that possibly systems might not link up. People think that these urgent cares and the hospitals all have a network of communicating systems, and they don't. And I know that from the big cities, that the urgent cares just don't communicate with the hospitals.
Well, and I'm discussing the flip side of that too, because there are people on the flip side of that. So
Oh, exactly.
hearing both sides together, because I don't think they're discussing. I mean, have these questions been asked to this company
Mhm.
personally and got responses? That's what I'm not hearing it anyway.
Yeah, I guess the question to that would be, should that be, since it fall within the city? Should it be a city thing, or should it be a county thing? Brian and David, would you be opposed to a town hall type discussion on that?
No, I think, again, we're here to serve the community
Mhm.
and work within the community. The more we hear, the better we can be.
Mhm.
We're not perfect, we understand that, but we think we've made great strides.
Mhm.
We work, part of our vision is to expand the services we deliver, so more care can be delivered locally. And that's part of the relationship with Ascension, bringing more specialists to town. Part of that is adding providers so more people can have local access. Working with this behavioral health coalition so that we can do a better job on that. We're really pleased to work with the local health department, how we collaborated for COVID. So they did a COVID clinic one day, we chose 3 other days in the week. We're working with the health department now on pediatric immunizations, Dr. Hafus and Dr. Pointer. And we could be one of the few counties in the state that actually improved the pediatric immunization vaccination rate during COVID because we're working together. So no, if there's feedback that the hospital needs to hear, constructive feedback, we're willing to listen and build plans on that. We do a formal community health needs assessment every 3 years. Unfortunately, we're a year out on that, I think, but that's the other one. We have to look at better ways to get more community involved in it, those that we have in the first couple, but not. But again, we're willing to listen, because if we don't know, we can't fix it.
And I think too, Brian, you want to tell your story, because a lot of people, just like you moved in here maybe 10 years ago, maybe don't realize this is a county-owned hospital.
Yes, I do.
They think it's an
realize that.
investor owned somewhere else. And a lot of people concerned about small businesses and helping the community. This is our community adult hospital. So that's the big thing right there. When you take Perry County Hospital out of Perry County, you would see a ghost town here in Tell City.
Well, I think a large part of it too is that people don't understand the long-term and short-term effects that it is going to have, not just on the layout, the economics of it, the development of it. I mean, I've really looked into it, and I personally don't want it in my neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on a couple things. I think that it feels like to me that this board is pushing it back off on Tell City, not the hospital, but the commissioners. I've heard Randy say, I wish Tell City would do different. I want to know from you guys, what do you want or expect Tell City to do? You said maybe the council can do something. You said, the plan commission, they approved. It's my understanding that, maybe I don't understand, maybe Randy, you can tell me what the plan commission does in Tell City or what they're responsible for. Because it's my understanding that they're responsible for the building specs and the code to make sure everything, it's not necessarily their responsibility what goes inside the building. So if you, Tom, say that the county attorney says there's absolutely no way we need to go down the road of fighting it with a certificate of need, then, this is a private sector business that wants to come in. So I'm just curious, what is there that can be done, or what other avenues other than, we can have a town hall, and I think that's great, to discuss it, because there's 2 sides of the aisle. I think that everybody needs their voices heard, but at the end of the day, what can be done? It's a private business. So.
I think what you said, provide the mechanism or the place for a town hall. I mean, and I've asked, I've talked to Chris about this, and I've talked to Steve Goodson and with the city, and I'm not sure that there's any action either way that we can take, except for open the discussion. Maybe something will come from that. So I can talk to Steve and Chris Kale and set up something. I don't know if it will officially be, since we're inviting, I'm just thinking out loud here, since we're inviting the commissioners and the council of both entities and the mayor, there have to be a public meeting notice, and that's fine. We'll just go through that process.
I'm just not sure that it's, technically Tell City's responsibility, because it would be for all county
Yeah.
members,
Well,
you know, or even.
I think
Yes, it affects all the county, yes.
Yeah.
But it falls under the jurisdiction of the Tell City Planning and Zoning. That's,
Planning and zoning part, right? I mean,
Yeah, but
Right.
I think the key is though that we don't have a say, to tell you the truth. I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
it's really not in our world. And I'm not trying to push it off on anybody, I'm just not trying to step on anybody's toes either. You know, that's what
Exactly.
in the sense that I don't wanna, they kind of made their decision. I don't wanna go and step on that decision because I really don't have any power to do that at
well, I
this
think
point.
that
Right, I mean, that's what I'm,
Well, I just think
the
it's kind of
planning and
unfair.
zoning made the decision that it follows their
Yeah.
guidelines as far as the building.
That's correct.
And
So
I don't
that- it's
think the
unfair to them
discussion
to
of
say,
the-
well, they're the ones gonna cause
The
it.
discussion of the business hasn't really happened in public meetings.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
this is where people have a hard time understanding. Zoning, can't deny it because it fits in the infrastructure. But what has not been discussed, is this going to negatively impact or positively impact the community? That is the discussion that needs to happen.
Right, and that may be where
And it's to the detriment. for
the line that Brian had referred to in that section.
Previous meeting.
Section 7.
Yeah, section 7, paragraph
Detriment of the
S.
community.
But, yeah, maybe that is the solution, is just to have a public meeting and just let both entities. The county has not been, and I don't know if the city has, and I don't think they have, been approached by the person wanting to operate the urgent care. I mean, I don't know who it is.
Well, they were there at the Tell City Plan.
Okay, well,
Meeting, I watched it.
Yeah, but
it's
they
like a
haven't approached the
franchise.
county, so
I mean-
officially, I don't even know who it is.
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's a line there because it's private business, so I don't know where the, you know, if the county attorney is saying there's a certificate of need, don't go down that road, you're gonna lose. So what, we can have the forum, I think it's necessary, you know, if you wanna hear both sides and everything, but what can be done at the end of it, you know?
yeah,
So,
again, that's.
Either way.
Explain
That's
the
why I
thing.
kind of shy away from, not shy away from having it, but shy away from us forcing it. Because, again, I don't know what power or what,
Yeah.
We could-
what influence we have in this situation
We could
legally.
plan a meeting
You know what I'm
and
saying?
invite,
Other than that,
but
then
not
we-
require.
Yeah.
Invite.
Well,
Does that sound fair, Greg?
Yeah.
I think everybody's gonna have their own opinion, elected officials, on this issue. And I think the more information you get out there that this is a county-owned hospital to the public, it's gonna be good. And we need to support our own. And I think everybody's gonna have a different opinion. Myself, you know what mine is. Greg might have a different one, Tom might have a different one, Tell City Council might have a different one. But we're here for the county. And I know the council members at Tell City is actually here for Tell City and the county also. So we need to do the right thing, and if there's anything to do at all, there might not be anything we can stop it. But we have to educate the people to use our
The
hospital.
public opinion.
if a meeting was held, I would definitely go to it as a citizen and not as a commissioner.
So-
This is my standing.
What would be the timing on
And the
this?
reason for that, again, is because I don't want anyone to think that I have more power than anyone else. Because in this situation, I don't have any more power than anyone else.
Well, I know you guys say that you support the hospital, but just earlier this year, the hospital came to try to partner with you on the, you know, health insurance and everything, and to do some kind of clinic or something like that, and it didn't pass.
Last year.
Or might have been last year, but I mean, it didn't pass, so
Well,
you
it-
support it or you don't. I don't
We
know.
do support them, but,
I mean, you work there, you work at the hospital, Tom, so.
yeah, I mean, I work for you, but, and back to that, they proposed a closed health insurance package to the county, and we decided that wasn't good for that wasn't, in that entirety, wasn't good for the county, but we did come up with an agreement, a deductible reduction for the county to support the hospital, you know, and will this, we still have to make decisions that's good for the county and the hospital, but we come up with a compromise. I mean, it's not always 100% one way or another. And I believe the hospital was satisfied with that on the health insurance, that we came up with.
That was an alternative, so we appreciate that.
Right.
So can you just also explain, when you, I just keep hearing this, that it's a county-owned hospital, and I think from my understanding, back in the day when the hospital was built, the commissioners co-signed the taxpayers of Perry County on the loans.
Mhm.
Is that correct? So if
Yes.
the hospital fails, we're responsible.
Right,
Is
and the
that
three
correct?
things
Is
could
that what you
happen.
mean by county-owned hospital?
If the county, and the way I understand it, simply put, because it's more complicated than that, the commissioners appoint the hospital board. The hospital board owns the business, the hospital board entity. The hospital association owns the building. And JB, you can correct me anywhere.
Correct.
If I'm wrong. But it belongs, the business of it belongs to the hospital board. That protects it from the elected officials at this time just to sell it out from underneath, you know. So it's a layer. Now, if the county, if the hospital defaults, they can't make their payment, then the county has the option of selling it or taking it over and operating as a county entity. Now, when Brian refers to that it is a county-owned hospital, it's owned within the county. It's not simply, we don't make, the commissioners nor the council makes day-to-day decisions for the hospital. That's what the hospital board does. And we can't just pull somebody out. I can't just say, well, I don't like JB in there anymore, and pull him out. Once JB is appointed, he's appointed for 4 years unless he resigns or does something unlawful. And that gets, so it can operate independently.
But if it was default, if this hospital was defaulter, I think her question is, would the county be on the line for the bond?
Yes,
And that answer to that is yes.
yes.
So that goes back to detriment of the community, Article.
Right, so if we don't want the county to be on the hook for the bond issues or the loans to build it, then we need to support the hospital. Or eventually the county will have to.
So when we
pay for it.
allowed Jasper and Owensboro in, was that thought about too? I'm just curious.
It was brought up, yeah, but there was never any action taken against that when they came in. Yes, there was thought and discussion, and honestly, it went a different direction than I would have liked to seen it, but that's where it went. But hindsight's always 20/20. The clinic at Briscoe was very successful. I would have liked to seen Perry County Memorial to have done that as opposed to Jasper Memorial Hospital. But the decision was made by the board of directors, who's got their hands in it, the board of trustees, that it wasn't something that they wanted to do at that time. Is that correct? I mean, but nobody has that crystal ball.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it kind of, we already have some of those things, so I feel like, is it discriminating these people, this new group who wants to come in because we're saying, well, we don't really need anybody else, but, we have other people here already, so we've already opened that door, so maybe that's just something for the forum.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
I mean, I call that precedent, is what I've always called that before, is you gotta be careful on those things, because if you do it, a couple times in history, then you may or may not form a
Right,
precedent.
set a
It really is a legality kind of gray area that you go into at that point. One thing with the insurance, it was $130,000 savings or something like that for the one with the Perry. I'm asking David because I know he's my numbers guy a lot of the time. Something around that range, right? So I mean that was back in 2009.
I remember the discussion, and I just thought,
yeah.
It wasn't forcing county employees to go there, it was giving like an extra discount, so I wasn't sure why we wouldn't do that. But
Kelly, I can't speak for the one here, the nurse practitioner from Owensboro, but the one at Bristow, or it's actually a Kitterman up there. When they put that in, Jasper Memorial went out and did a study that the customers they had. They will not put a clinic in without their customers close. They knew Northern Perry County had a lot of customers, but you got to realize, you're just a couple miles from Central County, just about 3 or 4 miles from Du Bois County, that clinic too. So that wasn't just put in for Perry County. it was just a good location to put a clinic for the tri-counties up there. So there's probably more people coming from Du Bois County, from the Bird's Eye area, from St. Minor to that clinic, than there is actually people from Perry County.
And actually-
It just happened to be in Perry County where they had a good site.
But actually, a huge base comes from Crawford
Well,
County.
and I would think that with this urgent care, you would get people from Hancock County and, you know, surrounding counties too, so kind of the same thing. That's just my
Right.
opinion.
If I could just appreciate
Yeah.
your comment, if I could just speak to when the certificate of need was passed in Jasper Memorial and Owensboro. My response is I wasn't here, so I'm here now, so I'm trying to raise awareness and education. The other thing, at that time, Perry County Memorial Hospital, one, didn't have the same number of providers, and number two, wasn't providing urgent care. So now I see this facility, we have enough providers statistically, and two, we're offering urgent care now. So I see it really as a duplication of necessary, whereas years ago when those facilities were here, there was a need for primary care. So I think it's time to change the opportunity to look and evaluate is different. So I appreciate your concern. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
Last question. The franchise that's coming in here, the urgent care franchise, have they looked at any other sites other than the cluster that is the McDonald's corner?
That I don't know. It'd be a
I
good
think
question
they've
for
already
me.
purchased it. I thought so as well.
Yes?
It didn't work.
I've heard you speak that there's a lot of different areas that are open, 8 to 8, 8 to 4, 5 to 5. Are there any that are 24 hours besides the emergency room?
No, no.
And does anyone know what the hours of this urgent care will be?
In our research, they're typically run 8 to 8 or 7 to 7, is that correct? So that's what we would believe. This would be built on the other urgent cares they have in operation. But again, I can't speak for them, but that's kind of their business template from what we've gathered going on to their site.
That could be the
That would be
question.
another nice thing to have at the town hall for
Yes.
us, because you don't, they're not here, they're not
Question.
represented, it'd be nice to hear their side of it as well, and then that.
And as far as the site where this property has been purchased, and this lady here says she's almost been hit 10 or 12 times coming in and out of McDonald's. Try coming in and out of the clinic.
Mhm.
There's no stoplight. I would much rather come out where there's a stoplight than I would come out of the clinic. You will get hit faster in front of that clinic than you will from McDonald's.
I wish Steve had, I mean, just to make sure that we're saying it right, but I really do think that's probably a city zoning thing that more than it is us. I'm not having Don in there as well, but.
I mean, if you've ever
And I'm
pulled
not
out the
trying to push it to the
optional,
city, but I also, again, it's one of those things that I don't want to sit here and pretend I have any decision power over that traffic flow.
there's like a 90-degree hill coming out of AutoZone that you cannot see around with the tiny building that is there now. So when they shove a big urgent care in there and people are going down a 90-degree hill, it's going to be so much worse. So thanks.
And I think the traffic falls under jurisdiction of NDOT. So, I mean, because it is a state highway, so maybe we need to invite them, see if they will also.
But if it's a problem now,
Mhm.
it should be addressed.
There's a lot of traffic
before
at that, I mean, I'll contest, there's a lot of traffic at that intersection.
There's no crossing for pedestrians either. So just to give you an example, my daughter and her babysitter, who were coming from the quiet end of the street, coming from around the Goodwill side, were almost hit trying to get to McDonald's because there are no sidewalks on both sides. You cannot see because there's blind spots going down the 90-degree hill. Also, you have a blind spot coming up the opposite direction. So if you were to come up, say from the gas station going up to McDonald's to get into this new urgent care, you have people potentially coming down from the, both of the hotels, visitors that are not going to be familiar with our area, and you also have people coming down from the apartment buildings there that all have the potential to get hit while walking. Not just driving, walking pedestrians can get hit.
So that's why it's important, NDOT, and of course, that's
Perry County, I think all three.
And
of them
that's,
should be-
and the city planning and zoning too need to be there too, because the street going up to Goodwill and all, that's a city street.
Mhm.
So they have to be invited.
Yeah, the corner is NDOT, and what would be the extension of Peachtree Lane and around there is city.
Right. So I'll reach out to Steve Goodson and Chris Kale and see about, because I want it to be convenient for them, you know, and then get the information from the prospect business, and the person building, the building piece is going to operate two different people, so they both have to be, so, maybe we can pull this together first of August sometime. Maybe we'll announce a meeting at our August 2nd meeting, that proposed town hall meeting for us. Does that make sense? If we plan a meeting next week, it won't be enough people be able to get there. Or,
And I was just asking him, the purpose of the meeting, are we gonna be able to have like a city vote at the end of that? He's saying, no, the planning commission would have to have some kind of a change in order for us to have an actual city vote on this, like for the citizens to have a vote. Is that what could come from this meeting? What is?
I don't,
I don't think so, no. I think it would be more just of an informative type of, a town hall is really, I guess, the best description of it, because it's just a discussion.
Yeah, I
An
guess that's
open
what I was
discussion.
saying at the end of the day, unless, I mean, I don't really know what can be done. It's a private entity, so we can talk about it, and, you know, people have discussion, which I think is good, but at the end of it, you don't want to give somebody false hope that it's going to happen, you know, we can change something one way or the other, because I don't think we can, honestly. Or maybe,
well,
that I don't think.
we'll change it
That's what
by
you're saying, right?
discussion, not necessarily a legal vote it down, but a discussion.
Well, education too, just
Yeah.
educating people.
Yeah.
What
Right.
what we, you know, our opinion and their opinion and.
And what their plan is.
Yeah.
They've never come, this company's never come to the county with a plan. We've never had their name across, you know, come and say, hey, county, this is what our plan is. We haven't had that.
Well,
But
do
the city
businesses
has.
normally do that, though? I mean, you know,
A lot of
I
them
don't know
do.
the process there. Is there, maybe there needs to be some, I don't know.
A lot of them do it out of courtesy. It's not required, but they'll
I've
do.
just never seen it in a meeting.
Right.
where a proposed city business comes and asks permission or talks to you about what they're gonna do, so
Mhm.
I was just curious.
Well, just like, well, I'm gonna use Brian here with the urgent care clinic. There was no requirement for him to come today and explain it, but he asked for the opportunity, and yes, I'd be, you know, what they're doing, you know, what the hospital's doing with the clinics and the urgent care and the quick care, and, yeah, but if this company had come and asked for the same thing, yeah, we would have invited, but they haven't. I mean, they don't have to, but they haven't, you know, so I don't, you know, I haven't heard their proposal yet.
I hope you understand, Kelly, our concern.
Yeah, oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, because.
Yeah. I think a lot of taxpayers don't realize that we're on the hook for the hospital if it fails financially, because back in the day, the commissioners
And, you know,
co-financed.
and we
It's
don't.
probably the largest hook
I mean, we are,
that
yeah,
we have.
that's our
on the-
debt, so
If you look at the numbers, it's probably the largest hook that we're on.
maybe that's the education that
But-
needs to be put out.
With that, I wasn't commissioner at that time, it was right before I came on. Bill Amos was, Tom was, when they signed off on that, they knew it was gonna benefit Perry County, and that's the reason. And the reason they signed off, and correct me if I'm wrong, JB, is to get a lower interest loan through the
Right, sure.
USDA.
And affordable, it
Yeah.
went from 6.5% to 3% or somewhere in that. It was millions of dollars in interest.
It's a much smaller example, but the bridge that we just did, I mean, in this meeting that we just literally did, it's a similar example to that, smaller amount, but similar example. And when you do that, you have to realize, and these are the conversations I had with Alvin over the email, that I teased that I drove him nuts. I know you want me to ask 1,000 questions, and you're great about that. But it's the thing that you got to think about it as a commissioner. You're literally signing a check that may come or may not come due when you do that, and you gotta be conscious of that. And you gotta realize what are the benefits and what is the risk. It's an ROI, it's a return on investment kind of calculation, or really a return on risk kind of calculation that you're doing there. And like today, it was, to me, the amount that it was, how easy the Port Authority could pay for it with 3 rail cars a month, that made it simple to me that the risk was small, benefits huge, do it. Now, I wasn't here for the hospital, I'm not gonna comment on what that leveling of that was, or that judgment call was, because I can't, I'm not even gonna
Well,
pretend.
the problem, and it was similar to the
But
Port
it's similar
Authority when that was
decision
made, that the hospital showed how that they could pay them through revenue, and that they put aside enough for
One payment.
a year's of payment. And it was a really solid, and all this was explained, and I remember it, but the general public may not. It was all public meetings, but not everybody pays attention when you're not involved into it.
Well,
Closely.
I was there the night, like I said, I wasn't commissioner, but this room was full. They had the doors open in support of the county signing that night. Just because the community seen this as an economic engine for the county. And you can ask PCDC, they're trying to get people to come into this county. And that's one of the number one things they look at is hospital. There's a hospital in the community, which a new one, that's a plus. Schools, roads, just a lot of things, but hospital's number one.
So there wasn't any choice in my mind to build a new facility. I mean, all factors, all the reasons behind building a new facility as opposed to renovation of the old facility, all those numbers, it just made sense to build. It was cheaper to build new than it was to renovate.
It's not cheaper on the people, though. That's the only complaint I got. My urologist comes to Perry County Hospital, so I could see him locally.
Mhm.
I can't afford to see him locally. I have to drive to Evansville because the bills I get are outlandish. When I can get it one bill in one little place.
Mhm.
Here, I get 3 bills, and it's unreal what it costs just for a yearly checkup. That's the one thing I do. There's got to be something to bring that cost down at the
To the
hospital.
local.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I have a thymus tumor behind my heart, and I have a daughter with a brain tumor. I am not the biggest fan of this hospital personally, but I support this hospital versus an urgent care because I have been to a big city and I've seen how the urgent cares undercut the local hospitals, and I've seen how the urgent cares can be misused by the community to get additional prescriptions because they're not linking up with the hospitals and they're not linking up with, say, the pharmacies, so they can't track where some of the prescriptions are going. I see both sides. I do think there needs to be a community meeting, and I agree with you on that.
Yes.
Has anyone in this room spoken to any individual that is bringing this or has bought this building? Have you spoken
I
to
have tried to
any
reach
of them?
out to them. I have not gotten any responses. They are like a franchise. You think of them as a private entity, but they have done this in multiple areas. They have multiple urgent cares. They're like the McDonald's of urgent cares. They really don't care about us as a community, and they're not reaching back out to me personally and to others that I know that are trying to reach out.
All right,
I
why
have
Perry County?
I have reached out to the developer several times through email and have not had communication back.
Do we know who's going to win?
It's a,
I mean, who's the actual one
No,
going to be?
no, I
winning?
do
we
not.
don't.
No, I
Okay,
do not.
that's-
No, all you get is like general information.
I'm just wondering, why Perry County?
That hasn't been explained. Maybe they will
Question.
come out in this
That's another
town
question
hall.
that needs to be asked, why?
Well, and I asked that question myself too, and the numbers that Brian is coming up with, that there is not a market for it, for another urgent care in, so why would they pick if there's not a market? You know,
The only
what
thing
are
I
they
can-
seeing that's drawing them?
The only thing I can see is it would draw Hancock County, Breckenridge County,
I
possibly some of Spencer County, Crawford County.
think they
The
see
general
that there is no
tri-state
other
area.
competition. I think that they see that there is no other competition other than the hospital. And I think that's kind of where it comes
Well,
from.
maybe they can answer that question if they will attend. But like Brian said, you've reached out to them, and they don't respond very well.
And 14 News did a story, and they wouldn't contact me back either, so.
And that could be because of legalities too.
Mhm.
Somebody saying the wrong thing at the wrong time publicly, and
So could Chris reach out to them? Their attorney, our attorney reach out to their attorney, and try to,
No, I mean, there's no legal issues to solve, so there was no reason for our attorney to.
I just didn't know if that would bring them in, you know, if there was a reason maybe they
We can
won't.
have him ask them the same as we do, but we'll have to.
Probably
do
best to
that.
have Jeff actually ask him, I mean, that's the one that's over that.
Right.
I don't, I think at the end of the day, like Greg said a while ago, we don't really have anything to say about it. But what we can say is our concerns.
We can get the vehicle for the discussion.
Yeah.
We can do that.
So Tom, you're gonna reach out to Chris and see if that's a possibility?
Right, and come up with something at our next meeting, maybe some dates, because I hate to even take, out of respect for the city and everybody else, I hate to pick a date now, you know,
No, that would not be right. No.
or even but I'll reach out to Steve Goodson and Chris Kale and see if we could reach out to this developer.
If it would be any other business, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
If there's another restaurant, then it's
I mean, it's just,
not our,
since Perry County Memorial is a entity of Perry County, that's the reason we got this discussion. So, and we need this discussion.
We're tied to him to the bond, so I mean, it's a valid thing for us to comment on. It's just, I don't know if we have any action that we can.
No, I mean, just our concerns at what it could do.
Mhm. Okay, we'll get something together and talk about our next meeting when we can have a town hall and where. I would suspect here, but if it's not here, we'll figure a place.
Yeah. I've got one other item.
Okay.
Just an update on dispatch stuff. I met with Roger and Derek Llewellyn and Chris Kale, Alan Malone and Steve Hauser. We've done that twice now to kind of finish out the contract. We tried our best to make the contract, or where basically it says nothing about the budget or the dollar figure or anything like that, because we don't want to trump what the council's doing, and also we don't really think that that's what the contract's really for. The contract is more.
We're just policy.
Yeah, it's basically deciding what duties are there inside the contract, is basically what we're doing. And from that, we basically came to a consensus, the group that met. It was kind of funny, the second time we met, I started the conversation with, is there any changes to the contract that anybody wants to make? Just to start the conversation, and everybody was dead silent, there wasn't any changes, so it was like, okay, so I think it's going well, and that front goes well. The next step that we did was we sent it to Chris Goffnett, because he's our legal person. He's gonna review it and make sure all the legalese and stuff is right. And then from there, then Chris Kale, I think he's gonna send it to Ice Miller. I think that's what he said, is who he's using. And then after that, we should be able to meet and be done with it after that point. I think the council's doing the budget on Thursday, is that right? The proposed budget or whatever, so that's that piece of it. We kind of tried to keep it a dichotomy. Money over here in the council world and duties over here in the commissioner world, so that's where we're at, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Last reason I'm here is for the Tell City Regional Arts Council. Many people in the community do not know that they exist. They are in the Swiss building. They have been making a ton of progress. They have hundreds of artists that have submitted work, and they're going to be having their grand opening during Schweitzer Fest. So we're calling out to the community, local artists to come join, come get active, local community members to come check out the art, and just kind of get involved. You know, this is a non